Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about international students and grad school. Today I have a special guest with me. Hi.
Hi, Tiffany. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to give us a quick introduction?
Sure. I'm Dr. Matthew Lee. People call me Dr. Lee. My background is in counseling. I used to be a school counselor for Fairfax County Public School, I guess about 10 years or a little longer. And I've also founded a small private school in Virginia. And I've been running the school for past 26 years now. And I also work with international students from overseas.
Okay, great. And also, he is my dad. And probably why I'm currently in this field of school psychology. I mean, I've seen him work in public schools as a counselor, and like he'll bring home like these crazy stories, like working in a middle school. And lo and behold, I will be in a middle school for internship. So I can't wait to, I don't know, I guess, meet these students, even though it will be virtual. I'm sure it'll be a great time and a great learning experience. So we will get started with the questions. The reason why I'm making this video and why I brought you on here is because I've had so many questions in the comments and DMs asking about what the process is for international students, and I really didn't have good answers because I am a citizen here, and I know there are a handful of students who really want to come and study in the US and go into school psychology or counseling, and I wanted to bring in an expert or someone who knows a little bit more than I do. So I guess the first question is, what is a process for international students, I guess, applying to grad school and attending?
Okay, so in order for someone to apply to a grad school in the United States, first thing first, they have to finish their college and earn bachelor's degree, and they'll have to, apply just like we do here. Here in the States, when students want to go to grad school, they'll first finish their college and they'll start applying to grad schools. And if they get accepted, they'll choose the school they want to go to, and they'll go. So that process is very much alike. So you have to finish your college. You have to look for schools where you want to apply to, and same application process. Nowadays, most applications are online, so you fill out the application online and you submit your application, and you have to take all the exams that are required. Depends on the program and the schools where you're applying to or for. So it could be GRE, could be GMAT, could be LSAT, whatever the test is required. So all schools will require, let me take that back, most schools will require all international students to take TOEFL, and that's the test of English as a foreign language, I believe. And so you have to take those two tests, most likely GRE and TOEFL, and you submit those test scores to school. You have to ask recommendation letters for your professors from your current school, and write statement of purpose. We call it SOP. So that part is the same as students in America. I guess only difference will be the fact that you have to take TOEFL, and also once you get accepted, you have to apply for visa. So those are the two main differences. But again, the whole process itself is very much alike.
Great. I know when I was applying to grad school, it was still like very overwhelming. Even like thinking about like what tests I had to take and preparing for that test and like writing your essay. So
Right.
for international students, you've worked with a lot of them. What would you say is the most challenging part of the process for them?
I guess most challenge depends on where they are coming from. Students who come from a country where English is either first or second language, and if they feel comfortable speaking, writing in English, then this may not apply to them. But I work with a lot of students who come from countries where English is not spoken on a daily basis. So writing the essay, because they may be very good writers in their own language, but trying to write the essay in English, um, depends on your major. Some schools will require you to write like a mini research paper. in English. So that's very challenging to them. Trying to get recommendation letters from their professors. A lot of these professors, number one, they never, uh, wrote any kind of recommendation letters for U.S. schools in the past. So in itself is very new to them. Plus the language, it's hard for them to write recommendation letters in English. So uh, yeah, I think those are the two things that I found to be main obstacles for students who are preparing to come to the States to study at a grad school level.
Do you have any suggestions for people who are struggling to find people to write recommendation letters if their
Right,
professors or employers don't speak English?
right. Things have changed quite a bit. Meaning, when I was, helping students like 25 years ago, there weren't that many professors who studied overseas in the states themselves. So it was really difficult to find professors who could either speak the language or write recommendations in English. But nowadays, there are many professors in Korea who studied, at least did their grad school work here, or college and grad school here. So it's important that you do some research and look for professors who know you very well personally, and also academically. And it'll be great if they can, if they have the background studying in the states themselves, so they can write this recommendation for you in English.
So I guess that planning piece is really important if you can go and seek out those professors who could write those letters for you.
Right, exactly. Right.
Okay, great. So we talked about the application process. Can we talk a little bit about the visa process?
Sure. Once you get accepted and you choose a school where you want to go to, and you notify the school, you put down the deposit, and they will issue a form, and that form is called I-20 form. And that I-20 document is printed from the school where you are going to go to. So they'll print out that form. Nowadays, because of the pandemic, they no longer print out the form and mail it to you. Instead, they email it to you. So either way, again, the form is called I-20, and the school will issue that form, and they will send it to you either in regular mail or email. And then with that form, you can apply for a student visa, and the process is online as well. So you will apply for a student visa online. And there's a fee involved, and you can, I believe it's $200. And you can pay that to State Department with a credit card. And once that fee is paid, and then you can start applying for student visa. What you fill when you fill out the form online, it'll be mostly your personal information about yourself, about your family, your travel background, and all that, your education background. It's a pretty lengthy form, but it's everything is about you. So you should be able to fill out the form by yourself. Usually takes about an hour to finish, and then you submit that form, and then you look for an embassy, American embassy in your country, and this is also done online. You make an appointment to go in person for an interview, and that too you have to pay. In Korea, it's right now it's $160. So you have to go to Citibank, or you can pay online, and with the receipt, you can set up an appointment for an interview. And on the interview day, you go in with printed out application, the visa application, and there are documents that you need to bring with you, like your ID. If your parents are paying for your tuition, then they will ask for your parents' like income statement, bank statement, and what have you. So you bring all the necessary documents with you, and you sit down with the consulate at the embassy, and you are going to be interviewed. And if you pass, then they will take your passport away from you, and they'll put a visa in your passport and mail that back to you within about 4 to 5 days. If you are rejected, you'll know right away why you are rejected. And if you're missing like parts of document, then you can set up an appointment again, like following week, and get the document that you need and go in for another interview. And if you
Wow.
know if you pass and if you get your visa, then you are free to enter United States as a international student.
That would be so nerve-wracking for me. I mean, just thinking that like the one interview lets you go or
Right,
doesn't let you go. So do you have
right,
any tips for the interview itself?
right. Well, it's not like you did something wrong. Unless you did something wrong and you're trying to hide, you have no reason to be nervous about anything. Any questions that they will ask you will be about yourself. So again, unless you are lying about something, you don't have to think about making up stories and stuff. So you go in, they may ask you several questions. Some consulates will just ask a couple questions. Some will be a little more picky and they'll ask more questions. But mainly, they will try to find out three things. One, your purpose of studying abroad. They'll want to know why you want to go to the United States to study. So you should have a good reason why you are thinking about going to a grad school in the States rather than staying at your own home country and go to school there. So, it could be many different reasons. Some students will say, well, I've always wanted to go to the United States and study in English, or I wanted to like experience a bigger world. So it could be anything. It could be your very own personal reason. Number two, while you are studying in the States, who's going to pay for your tuition and your living cost? Most students, the answer will be their parents, either their father or their mother. So if you say, well, my father, then they'll want to know where your father works. And, some, again, consulates will ask that question, some will not. But you will have to bring a document that supports the fact that your father is able to uh, sponsor you financially. So
Right, like a
the
bank statement or something.
Exactly, exactly. And um, the lastly, what your plan is after your study is over. Because when they give you a student visa, they want you to come and study. And once your study is all over, they want you to come back. If you don't, then you become an illegal alien. So they want to hear that once your study's over, then you plan to come back to your own country. Some students in the past said, without thinking, uh, when the consulate asked him, so what do you plan to do after your study's over? And he said, well, if I get a chance, I'd like to stay and get a job in the States. Absolute no. And he was rejected right then and there. So it's very important that you let the consulate know that you plan to come back. So those three things are the main things that they will want to find out. And again, unless you are like making up stories, most likely you'll pass.
Okay, those are some really good tips though. I think if no one really knew what they were going to ask, I could see
Right.
so many people going in and be like, "Oh, like I want to get a job afterwards."
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Right.
So, what happens if you get rejected?
If you get rejected, as I mentioned before, they'll let you know why. So they'll stamp um, on this piece of paper that you got rejected, and they'll let you know why you're rejected. So it could be for missing document. It could be for the consulate didn't believe what you were telling them or her. But if you get rejected, then you can set up another appointment as soon as there's an opening, and you can go in for a second interview. If you get rejected, you can reapply for another interview. But my own personal experience with working with students from Korea, uh, I would say about 99.99% of them passed. and they were able to come in to study.
Okay, well, that's kind of encouraging that I guess all of the students that you've worked with never really they got the visa, right? They just
Right,
had to get accepted into this
right,
school.
right. I mean, they were real college students, and they were good students, and uh, they were preparing themselves since like second or third year in college, and so whatever they told the consulates, they were true stories, and they wanted to study. And they United States government, I believe, they want students from overseas to come and study here, and it's good for both students who are coming from overseas and students, domestic students here. So I think U.S. government does encourage students to come and study in the United States. So unless you have a serious law somewhere, uh, yeah, I don't have any doubt that students will be able to come in and study.
Okay, great. What would you say are some ways that international students can prepare for applying to grad school and attending grad school in the United States?
Applying, as I said, writing that essay, I think somebody needs to at least read their essay and make sure it's done in the right way, grammatically and content-wise. And since a lot of these had no experience applying to colleges here or when they were in high school, so that process was very different too. And now they are trying to apply to a grad school without having that experience of applying to college, like writing essays and what have you. So everything will be so new to them. So getting some help with their essay writing. Again, finding somebody who can write good recommendation letters. GRE, TOEFL, those are not easy tests to take. So they need to set aside some time to prepare themselves. So they need to do that. But most of all, getting in is important, but that's not the only thing that they need to worry about. Once they get in, they have to come and study, and that means they have to study in English. Yeah,
So basically, it's going to be really important for them to learn English and prepare to study here.
right. Because they will have to come and sit in lectures where everything is done in English, and a lot of times they struggle with that. So listening. Also, at grad school level, you have to do lots of discussion in class. So, speaking, uh, you have to do lots of reading, and so reading comprehension. And we both know that things like this, you cannot learn those skills, learn those skills in like 2-3 days. So you have to really focus on preparing yourself for the language part before you arrive. Otherwise, you'll struggle.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like another part of that is like being confident in your language skills because even for me, I get very intimidated because I'm like an introvert. And even though I can speak English fluently, it's even hard for me to join discussion and like understand all of the reading. So I can't imagine like international students coming in and not feeling so confident about their English skills and then having to jump in to discussion and, do everything in grad school. So I think that part is really important. And when they do interviews for grad school and when they are trying to accept you, I think they're looking for those kind of skills too, to see if
Exactly.
you fit in and to see if you're going to succeed once
Right.
they accept you.
Right. Exactly. And some schools, as part of their admission process, some schools will require like a phone interview, or some schools will require you to tape yourself, record yourself and send that in. So yeah, as part of the application process, and after you come and start studying here in the States, English language skills, I think that's most critical.
So, do you think it's worth it to come to grad school in the United States? And I know this is a loaded question because obviously it depends on what you're studying, where you're coming from. But let's say, like, specifically for mental health or counseling or school psychology, do Do you think it's worth it for people to come and study in the US?
I think so. I totally believe so, especially counseling or psychology, because that's where it was originated from, Western culture. And most, I guess, work or research that are being done in Korea, it's all based on uh, Western countries like United States, Sweden, Europe. So I think it's very helpful for them to come and study the field where it's originated from.
No, I think so too. It's kind of hard for me to answer for people. Sometimes people will ask me like, "Oh, should I do it?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Right.
It's completely up to you. But I think studying here, people do have a different perspective, and I think people have a more open mind. At least here in the United States, we are more progressive, or we're becoming more progressive, especially with mental health. And so I think in that aspect, it is worth it to come here, especially if you're coming from like Korea or I know you deal with mostly Korean students, so
Yeah, I completely agree. And like places in Korea and other parts of Asia, field of psychology or counseling are still in the infant stage. And it's now people are just getting used to the concept of getting counseling, and there was a big taboo not until too long ago. People thought if you go seek counseling, uh, that's a sign of being weak, and people thought was embarrassing, and you are mentally ill. um, so the whole perspective of like getting counseling, or they still have a lot, I guess, more room to grow. And so I think it's very helpful for them to come and learn again from where it was all originated from, and then take that knowledge back to their country and try to figure out a way to kind of apply the knowledge to their own culture. And I think for me to study, because I grew up in Korea up until high school, and I came here and studying psychology here or counseling here, it greatly benefited me as I've been working with students from Korea and parents from Korea.
yeah. So I guess that's like another thing that you'll have to do if you're an international student, like generalizing the information you learn here to the country that you're
Exactly,
coming from.
exactly, right, right,
But we're all humans at the end, so
exactly, right.
okay. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here and answering these questions and talking about international students and graduate school.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Enjoyed it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.